Так, звичайно. Знімайте, можете і виставляти, куди вам треба. Дякую. Дякую. Йой, дякую.
Чи людина щось побачити це? Вчера подгружаю фотографии с форума, потому что там немного, там 40 чем. Это тебе сделаю, что когда лучше. На шкафу, что ли? Сейчас наша чай. Новый спикер.
Dear colleagues, hello, and welcome you during the open discussion on the reconstruction of Ukraine, which is happening within Lviv Urban Forum. Today, I welcome the representatives of Ukrainian business, the architect communities, representatives of the higher educational institutions. We're gonna talk about the key principles of the rebuild of Ukraine. So we will give the floor today to the executive CEO of the Cities of Ukraine, Association of Ukrainian Cities. We have Aleksandr Slobozhan with us. Please, the floor is yours. Hello, dear colleagues. Yes, we can hear you now. Hello and welcome, everyone. Unfortunately, right now I'm driving and I couldn't make it in person, but first and foremost, I would like to thank for discussing such a topical issue on the recovery topic because uh, at first it's very important on this preliminary stage before any other processes will be ongoing. Right now, it is important to implement projects. That's what we are doing right now. We are developing programs, etc. But we have to accentuate the key principles on where this reconstruction has to be implemented. So I would like to congratulate you on this occasion. I wish you to have a good and efficient work, and I hope you will put focus on the first point. You know that on April the 1st, the concept of local self-governance and self-reforming was adopted. And this year, all the changes in the local self-governance are done according to the principles which have become the foundations of the concept. But taking into account that we have new challenges starting from 2014, as the war started back then, the AUC section for the development of the occupied and the development of the deoccupied communities, headed by the Vadym Boichenko, we have made the offer that will be implemental to the recovery processes. These concepts are joined with our international partners. We have Alliance for the Reconstruction and the development of the development of Ukrainian cities, a Congress by the European Council, and many, many others, international SMEs, who implement the following principles. The first principle is where the local self-governance is operating. We have to preserve these activities, and when the city will be deoccupied, the municipal authority, municipal council has to renew its work. So we understand that we really have the lack of mayors in the communities, and unfortunately this hampers the organization of work and also all the other recovery and rebuilding processes. So in 124 communities, there are military administration, and in cooperation with the international actors, I would like to say that where the authorities have been doing their jobs, we see the reconstruction being implemented faster. And we see that the citizens are pleasant and contented because they take part, they are teamed up with the local authorities within this process. So this inclusion concept is of very big importance when we talk about the reconstruction. The third point is the structure of planning, of the documentation for planning. It's very important to start with strategy from the complex development programs, etc. So what is the issue here? These documents, of course, they require time, require experts from different municipal councils, and also interconnection between where the strategic partners implemented the state strategy of regional development that right now is in the stage of review in the cabinet of ministers. We also take into account the proposal of the sections from the CDC, and right now we're waiting for the decision from the government. The majority of proposals have been taken into account, and they were done as based on the poll and survey from both authorities from occupied and deoccupied consolidated territorial communities. It's important because this will give the way to the confirmation and adoption of the regional strategies later on. And after the general schema being approved according to the separate region, basing on these documents, the community tries to develop their strategies, complex programs, and this everything will be reflected higher further on. So therefore, these are the cornerstone documents. It's important to elaborate them. And I know that today the mayor of Mariupol is going to present the proper documents which are based and designed according to the right methodology as based on these principles. And the following moment, that's the attachment to the budget. And we are waiting to have the amendments to the budget legislation in terms of midterm planning and in terms of enhancing of the powers of the local authorities, taking into account both deoccupied and occupied communities, as according to the principle of the functioning of local authority. It's very good that we have this discussion going on within the second Lviv Urban Forum, and it also that it is connected with the strategic and technical documents. We have to take this into account. Of course, we are the conductors of the dream system when it comes to the implementation of projects, but every project, every investor is interested in the proper strategic documents from the local self-governance authorities. That's all on my part. I'm ready to answer to your questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Aleksandr, and I'm sure that right now we already got accustomed to the power offs and to blackouts, so we understand the technical moments. I would like to give the floor to Natalia Yemchenko. She's the communication director in SCM. Hello, everyone. I was here 1 year ago. That's the second time I'm here. And I understand that right now I represent the Mariupol Reborn platform, and I would like to highlight our partnership. We have the memorandum with Vadym Sergeyevich on the creation of Reborn 2 years ago. It was idea back then. So basically what we provided the project office implementation so that we try to finance the design of the projects and programs, and then the local authorities in Mariupol, they can look for financial partners. It's the common thing we do, but when you get into the project, it's good when you are well aware of the idea. It was October 2022. We didn't have understanding how it's gonna work. Of course, we wanted just to jump out of the shock from the survival stage and to create some idea, some vision. Of course, when we started working on Reborn, it's the project which is aimed at the revival of the city. Yes, we understood that we had to be ready whenever needed from the beginning of the full to give the quick response in terms of deoccupation. And also we had to work on what will be Mariupol build back better, right? We try to follow this strategy, but what does it mean to build better? So what we had in common that we have to make this common vision to understand what does it mean to build better. The economic strategy, the complex economic strategy was not implemented into the urban vision, but we had a picture, overall picture, because there are lots of questions which was a starting points for different directions to be developed. So we may we came to terms on these principles. I will enlist that first of all, nothing for the community without community. So we started active participation. We continue working on with the Mariupol community. There is a Yam Mariupol center, and it is possible due to that thousands of people who are pretty hectic community format they operate there. So we started working with them. We approved Urban Vision, all the projects and products from Mariupol Reborn. The second point that was the anthropocentric approach. We had a lot of discussions because I really like this term, desovietization. Why it is important? Because I understand that central part and eastern part of Ukraine, it's really about the Soviet, and the cities were projected and developed, designed according to the system. So we understand the way how it was done. I'm not talking about the names of cities. So that was certain totalitarian philosophy, and that's important, right? To find the correlation between anthropocentrism and desovietization. So that has to be the guiding principle. We need to understand that there are different platforms of in different cities. City which is pro-system and a city which is pro-human. So these are different realities. And the third, that is the complexity and unity. So we settled that we are not going to divide the sectors of the project. We have to see the overall picture of the project. We really need to see what will be the city after reconstruction, after it is reborn. We have to think about it with our citizens as well. Another principle, that's proficiency. And when we talk about this, it means that we talk about the capabilities and capacities of our team. We attract SMEs. We try to find both foreign and domestic background in order for it to be developed. We also have another principle of integrated approach. It means that we have a look at the ecosystem of everything we do, and we really wanted to have 10 different projects. We need to have the ecosystem of those projects that have internal dynamics, transparency and accountability. So that's the about the tolerance to corruption, etc. So we are aimed that every donor, every potential donor can motivate the broader circle. So of course, it doesn't matter for us how we have. It does matter for us how transparent we are and how accountable we are. Yes, Mariupol hasn't been deoccupied yet. It's important for us to have flexibility. And therefore, this agile principle, Lego startup principle is incorporated here, and the project is developing so that we can be flexible. We have horizontal partnership, and that's another point because we understood that here a lot of partners have to be involved. And when we talk about horizontal line, we understand that how important to attract those facilitators, urban bureau, uh, other actors. It's important for us to have the good facilitation as a separate segment. So we really need to promote facilitation and participation. That's very important for the eastern part of Ukraine. That was actually new for them. Project approach. So the clear framework, deadlines, budget strategies. We'll have a look at everything as the projects that are as the reborn products. They are projects. Also, we need to have the long-term vision. So when we got into this project, we made a point that yes, we are launching this together, but we don't know how we're going to do that. We don't know what will be after 2 years, but we want this project to be transformed into institution, and so that all the institution can set the sense on a wider scale, and so that this institution will become influential actor while analysis, reflections on the reconstruction of Ukrainian cities, particularly deoccupied cities. We presented last year the whole line of projects. Some of them have already been implemented. One of the project that's urban vision of Mariupol. I'm not going deep into this project. I will have another opportunity, but the only thing I want to mention is that there are three main components. The first, that is process, how we developed that. Yes, it's very valuable. There were 4 separate teams that worked separately, then we joined them together, then we made one product out of 4 projects. So we tried to attract a community. So the process is of immense importance. One more point is product. Yes, you have to work with the product. And the third part, that is when we have to transfer what we can transfer to the other cities while Mariupol is still occupied. So that's a training system, how we have to do that. So we have pretty big requests from our colleagues, etc. So the results from urban vision is not the urban vision itself, but the 2 main components. Another projects I would like to dwell upon and which has been implemented this year. Of course, we have many projects, but I would like to highlight 3 projects today, what we have accomplished this year. Last year, we were talking about the fact that within the de-Sovietization process, there are a lot of children in the eastern part of Ukraine who used to study in the typical Soviet schools. And right now, the educational reform has been implemented. In Mariupol, 75% of pupils, they studied in the 5 types of schools. So we had 5 projects. So we took these 5 projects and teamed up with the Ukrainian architects and European colleagues. We tried to find out the concept and then try to understand how these typical Soviet schools can be transformed into child-centric ones. So we have the concepts, and by accident we showed that to Mikhailo Fedorov, and he said, "Oh, yeah, these are typical schools, and we have such schools on the non-occupied territories. Let's make these projects. Let's look for money. Yes, we Metinvest and DTAC, we were partners on these 5 schools, and the office from the vice prime minister and minister of education, they managed to find this funding for these schools. And right now the project from the idea stage developed into project documentation. That's what we provide assistance with. And right now in Kyiv Oblast, in Shpatki, we will try to transform the classical Soviet educational establishment into the modern kid-centric school. So we have the clear principles and are basing on which the project will be implemented. So it's important so such practice can become contagious. Another point I would like to tell is what has been accomplished. So we had the memorial of the defense of Mariupol. It's important because we need to preserve the memory. We need to commemorate the efforts of our defenders and also to understand how different points of view on one events or sometimes the lack of knowledge, how this can be transformed into consensus document where there is no bad steer around or quarrels around, but vice versa, where we can find a lot of things in common, and whereas there is this will to have the common work. So we tried to reconstruct hourly the events that happened in Mariupol. We had a chance to talk with the commanders of different units, military units. So we did it. Then we consolidated and approved that from the foreign intelligence service, from the key and main intelligence. So everyone, they said that everything was good. Right now this project is being translated. It will be released on internationally. Basically we used that partially for the advocacy when there was like hidden advocacy campaign when Azov was to be registered in the US, and Azov was not receiving weapons from the US because of it. So right now Azov is free to receive weapons from the US. So that was due to our efforts. So I sorry for being distracted a bit. I also would like to mention that the Reborn is being implemented already. It's the institutionalized project. We are very much happy to have every new partner joining us during this Reborn framework, but we are even more happy when some broader initiatives are born here in Reborn project, and then they grow within new communities or many other cities within this big idea of rebuilding and reconstruction of cities, communities. We understand that the thinking is different from what it was before the war. It's great to have such changes. Thank you very much for your presentation, and I would like to invite to take the floor to the speaker, Jacek Bendikovsky. He is the founder of Gdansk Foundation. Thank you very much. I understand Ukrainian, but I don't understand, but I can't speak Ukrainian or Polish or English.
співпрацювати і підтримувати місто Марія.
Gdansk Foundation is a private foundation, however
приватна
cooperating
фундація.
closely with the city.
Яка дуже близько співпрацює з містом.
And because of the decision of the mayor of the city, Aleksandr, we were in charge of the receipt of all the Ukrainian refugees in Gdansk and Pomeranian region.
І за запитанням пані Олександри Дулькевич, пані мера Гданська, ми приймаємо всіх біженців із України.
A Gdańsk przyjął drugą największą liczbę uchodźców z Ukrainy na głowę mieszkańca spośród dużych
І
miast
коли
Polski.
ми говоримо про Польщу, то місто Гданськ – це друге найбільше місто, яке приймає біженців з України.
W szczycie mieliśmy 160 tysięcy Ukraińców w Gdańsku, teraz mamy około 90 tysięcy. 160 tysięcy, mieliśmy w czerwcu 22. Sorry, 160,000 we had in June
160, так, у нас було в червні, так.
and now we have 90,000.
І зараз нас 90 тисяч, 90.
90,000, yes.
Okay.
Gdansk has a long experience of reconstruction after the war because Gdansk was destroyed in 96% after the Second World War.
Так як Гданськ був зруйнований на 96%, у нас дуже великий досвід у відбудові міста.
We had the same experience because Gdansk was destroyed by the same barbarian Russian army.
І в нас такий самий же досвід, тому що ми також були зруйновані той самою варварською армією Росії.
Today Gdansk is a beautiful city, but we still reconstruct it.
І сьогодні Гданськ – це дуже красиве місто, але ми продовжуємо його відновлювати.
Consequently, since we are involved as well in direct cooperation with Ukrainian cities, we have right now 14 agreements with different Ukrainian cities as a foundation.
Як фундація, так як ми продовжуємо співпрацювати з українськими містами, в нас же є 14 договорів.
It was natural that we get involved in the Mariupol Reborn project.
Ну і звичайно ж ми залучені в проєкт міста Маріуполя Mariupol Reborn.
The task which have been given is the economical development.
І те, що Гданськ дає, це економічний розвиток, ця експертиза.
Our involvement is just money.
І наше залучення це is just or not just?
It's just money.
Це тільки гроші, але ми говоримо про фундацію зараз.
Because the work was done by DS Consulting,
Тому що сама робота була зроблена саме DS Consulting приватною компанією.
It is of course still in the process. We have the first initial phase of that work.
І звичайно, в нас зараз початкова якраз таки фаза, тому ми ще працюємо над цим.
Which was presented in Dnipro in mid-May this year.
І на всередині травня це було презентовано в місті Дніпро.
Mariupol, of course, is under occupation, and it is a horrible situation.
Це, звичайно ж, жахливо, що і надалі Маріуполь під окупацією.
But if we look at it theoretically, it is a great challenge, but as well a great opportunity for Mariupol to be reborn and rebuilt as a much more modern city without a lot of obstacles which it would have normally because of before entering European Union.
Ми розуміємо, що це велика трагедія, але це ще такий великий виклик зробити і перетворити цю трагедію на можливість, тому що сьогодні ми можемо відбудувати Маріуполь вже в сучасному форматі і підготуватись до приєднання до європейської родини.
So, for instance, when we speak about reconstruction of the metallurgy sector in
Наприклад, коли говоримо про реконструкцію металургійного сектору.
It will be designed already taking into consideration all the requirements of Green Order of the European Union.
І ми розуміємо, що коли ми будемо робити редизайн і підготовку, ми будемо враховувати всі регуляторні акти і підходи Європейського Союзу до зеленого виробництва.
So for a long term, it will be much more efficient and it will be much cheaper to adjust it to the requirements of European regulations.
І ми розуміємо, що це буде і краще, і навіть дешевше, щоб це преобразувати, саме щоб ми відповідали потребам і вимогам Європейського Союзу.
The same will concern the maritime sector, shipyards and the ports.
Те ж саме стосується також і морського сектору економіки.
The port which will work the important route from Asia to Europe.
І порт буде працювати над дуже важливим маршрутом від Азії до Європи.
The project takes into consideration as well development of small and medium-sized enterprises.
І ми розуміємо, що в проект також буде входити і розвиток малих і маленьких підприємств.
And as well, something which is quite new, I think, the concept of becoming one of the university hubs in Ukraine.
І також ще нова концепція, що ми можемо стати одним із таких університетських хабів в Україні.
We believe we'll have some chances to be more efficient in the assistance because of the fact that Aleksandr Dulkievich, our mayor, is the chairman of the Ukrainian, group on Ukrainian reconstruction in the Committee of the Regions.
І також ми розуміємо, що наше залучення буде активним, тому що пані Олександра Дулкевич, пані мер Гданська, вона також є і головою секції Ради Європи, яка займається реконструкцією України.
And you can trust that as we were involved, we will be involved in the reconstruction
І ви
of
маєте
Ukraine.
знати, що ми як були залучені, так і будемо залучені в відбудову України.
Дуже дякую.
Дякуємо bardzo.
Так, щиро дякуємо за такий виступ. І далі
you very
до
much
слова
for
запрошується
this
Маріупольський
floor.
міський
And
голова
right now,
Vadym
I
Boichenko.
would like to give the floor to the mayor of Mariupol, Mr. Vadym Boichenko. I will add some contents to our talk. We have heard, so I would like to develop the key principle which we launched here 1 year ago. We were talking about the model which our Ukraine has to set up. We need to have the vision of the sustainable and quick recovery of our country, and this is what was impossible back then. We were pioneers in this, and we understood the request from the community that turned to us. So we wanted to feel the opinion of the community. We wanted to not to make mistakes. We wanted to understand the expertise being present in the world, in Europe, and a lot of our partners paid our attention to the mistakes that they made. And I would like to say that there is no such city that was reconstructed after World War II which didn't make any mistake. So we have to learn on somebody else's mistake. I asked our Polish friends and said, it's impossible to develop a plan without any mistakes. And it's impossible, yes, we're going to make our own mistakes. I really like the expression by our Polish friends who were reconstructing Poland. What did they pay their attention to? So they say that they had a role country, Germany. Germany was such a country for them. So they wanted to rebuild Polish cities, looking at the German cities, but rebuilding Polish cities. So they wanted to highlight. So we were trying to get this expertise like a puzzle. And right now I understand that we have to rebuild Ukrainian Mariupol still. So when we talk about the vision, which has been developed even before the full-fledged invasion, together with our American friends, we had a stable philosophy or applied strategy on the expert level, but unfortunately we couldn't even started at the beginning because we approved this strategy in December 2021. But Americans, and the deadline was up till 2013. So we had jokes, yes, that we could make it in time. But we understand that we need to have a fresh look at it. We have to go deep into the contents that is already composed, and maybe we have to change many things right away due to the full-fledged invasion. So therefore we started this movement from our vision. So 1 year ago here in Lviv, one student from Polytechnic said, Mr. Mayor, I saw your strategy approved in December 2021. What would you change in the vision? Because vision, this is the direction of movement, where Mariupol could be directed according to. And I caught myself thinking that the vision that we were trying to define back then, we wanted to build a sea city with the ocean of opportunity under Ukrainian flag. Under Ukrainian flag, that's the part I would like to add to our vision. We understand that the content has been changed, but today I would like to show you the approach towards the reconstruction of Ukraine. So we are not talking about how we are rebuilding Mariupol, but we talk about the expert approach, the sustainable approach of the top expert level. We can design any type of strategy. Yes, we can draw it, but we can't develop it because it's the multi-layer structure which has to be collected first like a puzzle to talk it over for the several times and then to compose a strategy. So Mariupol Reborn, these are several main components, several main directions which we have been building on the top expert level. Fast recovery plan. This is the plan of immediate response. It means that we need to do right away when we are in Mariupol. After we had composed it, I thought that that's really fast recovery plan. But when we turned to the experts, for example, to the PricewaterhouseCoopers company, they had a look at it and say, oh, no, it's not immediate response. No, I was kind of, it was insulting to me because, how can you say that? It's a year of our work. But when they draw our attention to the stabilizing things which can be implemented down the road, like, for example, patriotic upbringing of youth, because we understand that the youth living in Mariupol now, their minds have been traumatized by Russian propaganda. So these are the stage of stabilizing efforts. Therefore, we try to divide this quick response, water, electricity, etc. So that's one part. All the other is the other part. So that's how we had the overall first emergency reaction plan, emergency response, which we received assistance from the PricewaterhouseCoopers company. So right now we have this, and we have this confirmation from our partners that right now this is the first emergency response. It's very important really to search for those who have already gone through what we are going through now. It's important to be open, it's important to understand the critics, etc. Back then, we had architectural bureau, 4 architectural bureaus. We wanted to have broader audience in order to work out the concept under the name of urban vision. And we didn't some of them take different directions. For example, one bureau will be working with the historical part of our cities. So this focus they made themselves. Some made another focus, mineralization, for example. We have to keep a record on everything that has been destroyed, etc. This whole narrative from Mariupol citizens who lived for several months without food, without water, under occupation. It was a period of survival, right? We need to highlight that. Some people were talking about revitalizing of Azovstal, that was the fortress of our invincibility, of our freedom and independence. Some were focused on security. So we saw in the long run 4 different concepts, and I didn't know what to do with that. But those 4 key architects said it's a unique product. But I told, we don't need 4 concepts, we need only 1. So they said it's impossible to be unified. Then I'm hiring one of the biggest architectural company in the world. There was a 2-hour pause. Then architects said, don't do that. We're going to come to terms. Architects decided to come to terms on what they wanted to be created. So then I showed up and we were going to the cities where Mariupol people live, because we have the Mariupol Center, which was opened in April 2022, and right now we have 28 centers, 18 cities of Ukraine, and we have planned to enlarge these initiative. We have Bakhmut with us, Bucha, etc. So we understand each other. We try to copy some practices. We try to we do this dialects with communities, etc. So we had 1,000 Mariupols coming up, and we asked them a lot of questions, 400 questions. Then we have the answers, and we showed the questions to architects. And I said these questions have to be incorporated into urban concepts. And architectures said that we need some more time. So we started this movement in September 2022, the urban vision and all the contracts, etc. By means of USAID, etc., took us 2 months. And in November 2022, we started this process. And right now, we showed up here. We have the urban vision. I want to show it. Let me show the slide. So we have the whole applied document. It's a book. And I'm very much proud of this book because people, Mariupol citizens, architects, top experts in the world, really, they made efforts, and everything is implemented into one unified documents. We have 400 ideas from our Mariupol people incorporated here. It's immense work and very important one. So when we talk about experts, yes, we have many experts from Gdansk, Rotterdam, Harvard, other. They really said what we shouldn't do. They said that after World War II, we have not only one Memor symbol. No, we have the Memor city. So that's the philosophy of the city. But Poles, for example, come to this city, they commemorate with flowers, etc., and they just leave because they feel that that's the big cemetery. So they commemorate this place and leave. They don't live there. So they give us hint, don't do it in this way as we did. So this is what we were driven our attention to. And that was really important to be implemented. So we turned to people in September. We just have to understand that people were fleeing Mariupol under difficult condition. It was very difficult to save people as Russian occupants didn't wanted to keep them there. But people moved. People were relocated. They received support from the Mariupol centers. But we had to ask them back then in September 2022. We asked them, "Are we ready to ask questions?" And they say, "Yes, it's up to date. We have to talk about this." And when they say it's high time we do it, back then we created the architectural request to our USAID partner. We said that we have this aspiration to have the future vision of Mariupol. Could you please help us with this? Could you please help us implement this? And here there's one important moment. When we talk about architects, it's important to understand that these architects have to be aware on Ukraine, on Mariupol, on other cities. They have to understand us. They have to be on the same page with us. Who are we? What do we aspire? We really want to get rid of this Sovietization, because that's what drags us back into Soviet times. But we want to move forward, right? We want to move to Europe. We want to live in the democratic world and feel this freedom. We really are thirsty for freedom, and our top defenders are fighting for it right now. And then they say, who are the architects? We answered, these are architects, 4 architects who are well aware on Mariupol, on Ukraine. So they agreed to fulfill this task. And then 4 key principles were developed, not one. And that was the unique conception. It's about ecology, desovietization, history, or other segments. And that's very, very, very important. Then we understood that everything that we have worked out is to be discussed again. So basically, over 2022 year, I roamed around different towns, and I tried to listen to the Mariupol people, and I wanted to feel this and to hear this feedback. And then I put this feedback forward, and I really wanted to be implemented. Of course, we needed time, but we were pressed for time. So, like 2 years, it took us 2 years to elaborate what we have right now. So then the ideas coming from the big business, for example, we attracted them. We asked them to help us because not just USAID can be involved. It was really cost-consuming project. So we have businesses involved as well. And we are presenting this book to you right now. It has been presented in Lviv and in Berlin, and we have this unified vision right now. So it means that these 400 questions, 1,000 people in 15 cities, we have this model of the future Mariupol. When we talk about the strategic vision, it's important to understand that it has to be driven top up and bottom up. It's important to be ground from bottom to the top. But basically right now the approach we're using is from both sides, bottom to top and top to bottom approach, because we really need this opinion from the people. After every meeting that we had the report published. So Mariupol people could have a look on the questions that they were asking us. And Mariupol citizens see that the question they asked has been incorporated into the vision, and we will see this vision that will be perceived in a different way. So it's not my vision, it's not architect's vision. This is their vision. So right now I'm going to dwell upon the 5 key directions, and these are the first top directions which you have to elaborate and work out. The first one is safety. Safety of life. When people go back home, and how they can have new accommodation, new buildings. So we need to have this dual type with a bomb shelter, with parking, where people will have this situation repeated. How high these buildings have to be? Architects say that we can't have skyscrapers or residential buildings that are higher than 7 floors. And even the distance between the buildings, it has to be bigger in case of different shellings from the sky. So these are efforts and complex plan about safety. And another point is about work, about accommodation. So if we talk about economy, we understand that it's important to feel this safety, right? But it's also important for them to see where is my place of residence, where is my job, where have I go back to. So it's a big book, it's a pretty detailed book, and then we will talk about economy a bit. But I really want you to understand that we haven't completed our analysis, and there will be some amendments, of course, and there will be the future vision of the Mariupol's economy. It's very important. So the first features from the future economy has been included here, but still there's a long way to go. While talking about accommodation, so we have already heard what local architects pay attention to. As for what we have to build, how many floors, etc. So therefore, we have to take this expertise from those countries who have already managed to get rid of Soviet heritage, and it's the key factor for us. We really need to get rid of this burden which drags us back. And I'm sure that our neighbor just doesn't want to let us go. This is what we have to take into account. We have to get rid of it to the full. Our architects think that our city has to be developed into the treasure box in terms of history, in terms of culture. It's all about the sea, right? We understand that we have to face the sea. That the key arteries leading to the sea, they have to be green. So just to have these colors, blue and green. This is the feature of the future Mariupol. Talking about economy, yes, we have a lot of questions. And we see that Mariupol is gaining some advantages because Mariupol used to have mono economy. It was very difficult to go another way. It was both pros and cons, but we can't have something else. But when we talk about future perspective, we really need to have metallurgy remain functioning. We want to go to the European Union, and there are different requirements, both Poland and German. They're getting ready to receive us in the EU. Therefore, I accentuate that Ukraine, if it really wants to preserve metallurgy, it means that Ukraine has to be ready for that. So this can be different types. It can be white, green, or many other. We have already signed agreements that start from 2021, and I'm very thankful to my Metinvest partner, which approved that there will be a green white enterprise factory in Mariupol. It's very important for us to understand what's our point of contact, what's our locus standi, and when we talk about the renewable metallurgy, it's about renewable energy, and we have advantages here because it's the eastern part of Ukraine, it's eastern southern part of Ukraine, and there are lots of wind and lots of sun. So these are advantages. We can use both wind and sun in the new metallurgy. We also will be based upon our seaport. It's great that it has been preserved. It hasn't been destroyed as compared to metallurgy facilities. So we really want that metallurgy will remain, but along with them, we want to make another logistical hub, not only for Mariupol, but for the regional leadership. We really want to connect Europe with Asia. That will be this way as it used to be several centuries ago. We want to revive that. We want to have the container logistics. It just died due to the Kerch Bridge, etc. So we really want to rebuild Donetsk region, to rebuild Kharkiv region, Zaporizhia region, and even Dnipro region. So right now we are aiming to become a geographically important player in reconstructing of Ukraine. We have to treat reconstructing as the industry. It will be part of our economy, and this regional leadership will give the way for the middle business to create building industries, small industries. Someone will produce different products, and it will be good for the business to thrive in future and boost their capacities, not only for the Mariupol enterprises, but also Lviv or other cities can open their affiliates in our city. When we talk about very important component What I'm showing right now, this is something which are in common and they are top priority. Top priority for what? For having people back to Ukraine. I mean, all those refugees, IDPs from abroad, from other Ukrainian cities. So that is the concept, and it will work out as it is approved by the social surveys, etc. It will work also for Bakhmut and other Ukrainian cities. Social infrastructure component. So we understand that, yeah, safety is okay, work okay, accommodation okay, and now we come to the social infrastructure. So we need to have schools, right? We need to have kindergartens, hospitals, and when we talk about schools and kindergartens, Mariupol is the leading example because our state has acknowledged this experience which we had before the war. So we made these first steps for the desovietization of schools and kindergartens. And this first before the full-fledged invasion, we had our schools that were opened by our presidents. It was the school about new senses, school becoming the center of the district of the city. So that's not just about the internal environment, but about external environment. When school is open not at 9 but at 5 a.m. because people want to go into sport sections, and also the working of the school environment like ends at midnight because people are enrolling for different sports sections in the evening. So we have to understand what were the safety requirements. So in that school, kids could sit on the window ceilings, for example. The teaching staff had transparent walls. It's like students can see what teachers are doing in their teaching staff room, what principal is doing in his office. So because of these transparent walls, it's important. So it's another concept. It's something different. It's another attitude from a student to the teacher and another way around. So that's how we changed the philosophy. We managed to implement that, but unfortunately these schools have been destroyed by our enemy, but we have experience. We have European experience overlapped with it. And how many schools, by the way, do we have in Ukraine? More than 12,000, but we have 10 archetypes of schools. In Mariupol, we had 5 archetypes. So that's the shape of the schooling facility, etc. So we have 7 archetypes. It means 90% of schools in our country. So today, the European experience, thanks to it, and state has developed 5 projects based on our experience that can be implemented elsewhere in order to transform educational facilities, to transform the philosophy of teaching. And of course, there's already ready-made project which can be implemented right away. And in Kyiv region, the project desovietization project has already started because there is financing coming from abroad. It's desovietization is of top importance. Unfortunately, it hasn't been the value of it hasn't been understood to the full, but we need to build up this social inclusiveness, right? We don't have to go back into the past. Around 100,000 Mariupol citizens remain in the city. We don't know why, but we understand that they have been brainwashed there, and we have to live with it somehow. We also understand that Mariupol people, some of them became refugee and they received certain experience, right? Some of them live in Lviv, in Dnipro, in other cities. 18 cities, and they also have some experience. And then we can shape the community out of that. And it's important, it's difficult, really. And therefore, this direction has to be worked over, and we have to answer who is the collaborators when we avoid this question and when we don't want to answer it, but we need to settle that on the legislative level. Yes, there is the many examples in the world. We have the examples in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. We have the example of deportation, or such people can be deported or they can be deprived of their ability to vote, for example. Right now, the amount of people who have left amounts almost to 10 million people. So we really lack people, and we have to define what are we going to do with it. It's important to understand another component which we don't pay attention to. How many our defenders will become war veterans and they will come back to civilian life. And we have to understand what we are going to deal with that, how they will be accepted here after they are freed from the captivity, from the other part of front. Are we ready to work with them? Do we understand their needs, their problems? They have been there for almost 3 years, so they basically the life we're living basically means no sense for them, literally. So these are all the questions which have to be addressed on the state level, and we have to understand that for ourselves, how we are going to live with that. How we, not they with us, but we with them, with our defenders. That's the great responsibility on our shoulders. And I'm rounding up. It's a popular picture, the drama theater in Mariupol that has been destroyed by the avia shelling, a great tragedy that took life of many kids, women. And when we were talking about the question to preserve, to rebuild the drama theater or not, so I think if architects had no sense about the tragedy of the city, about the request from the people, yes, they could erect such theaters. Russians also are considering this option to renew and rebuild this theater, but people say no, we can't do this. That's the big tragedy. So let us create the commemoration memorial to commemorate for those deceased. But this shouldn't trigger a bad reaction. It should be kind of space, like museum, where you can plunge and feel this atmosphere, but without this full living in the heart of every Mariupol citizen. It's a very fragile philosophy, and so right now we are starting very important work on the architectural level. So I welcome everyone because Serhiy Valerovich will announce a tender on the implementation of such projects, which will create our vision, how it's going to look like. This is just one of the examples of how it can be reconstructed. The same started with the Azovstal. Our architects have described, of course, I will not go into details here, but it's a multifaceted, complex approach to the understanding, re-understanding of this territory. It's a great area, and if we are going to build residential buildings like 5 floors, it means that we can accommodate there 250,000 of citizens. So that's enormous territory. So the process of revitalizing this area will take 20 or 40 years minimum. That's the outcome, and that's the conclusion that we made. So just for you to understand this framework and the scope of work, because it's important to work out every stage of revitalizing. So these are the key principles that our architects saw. So everything that you hear right now, of course, people ask us like how we can learn how to do that. And these requests coming from different communities, we have different communities with their experience, etc. Therefore, we had Slobozhan here who started having discussion with us, and we were talking about the 90% of the Ukrainian territory. So in September, based on the experience of Mariupol, Bakhmut, Bucha, and other cities that right now are united on this idea, we want to transmit this experience to the level of communities who really want to implement that. They want to revitalize their communities in their area. And this is about 30% of the territory of Ukraine. We talk about 326 communities. Some of them are occupied and deoccupied. So we talk about 13 million of people who became IDP. That's the modular system we are going to be implemented on the expert level through Kyiv and Mohyla Academy as one of the community Reborn platform. And of course, we talk about the strategy towards recovery, how to develop the vision and how to make the fast recovery plan. So it takes 6 months of training. We're going to have 4 groups for that. The top experts from the world, our partner cities, audit companies, architectural bureaus, they will transfer this experience to the communities that will join the process. It's very important to have this cooperation. And of course, we had some experience when we have the economic forum where one community is very active with their personal requests, like, can we get 6 buses, etc. So you can't have a kind of dialogue with the partners. No, you have to build up the relationship with partners, and then you will receive money. You have to introduce yourself. Who are you? What are you aspire for? So we are all hungry for recovery, right? We want to get the knowledge. So here the best world expertise will be included. Economic cases. This is the experience of both Mariupol and other communities which relocate business, create new ideas. We need to understand that the Ukraine that was before the war, there will be no place for such Ukraine in future, and we have to declare that. We have to have different thinking. The same thinking as Poles had when they were recovering their cities, but having Germany as a role model. Therefore, it's important to understand every city, every community. Bakhmut. Some people say, why do we need to reconstruct Bakhmut? But let us ask the citizens of Bakhmut. It's not even a question for them, but for us, that's the question. So we have to understand what kind of part of economy will be there, what will be the jobs there for people going to Bakhmut. And another question is, we understand the conditions there, but what can be the salary for teachers, nurses, doctors, police officers, because they will go there. So that's the question. We have a law which is about this, but when you read this law, it's, you interpret it in a different way. So therefore, it's important to set and define this on the legislative level. Because I think that teachers back then have to have bigger salaries. When we talk about the de-Sovietization of schools, it's important to implement that so that people can understand that there is such an opportunity, that we have projects already, and it's all about the developing projects of the European level in English. You just have to understand that we have the access towards the EU money. It's about facility plan of 22 billion, and $10 billion will be distributed to the communities. Are you ready to receive these funds? No, because we don't have on the level of the city experts who can have fluent English and write projects in fluent English. Why it is not possible? Because the salary of this specialist is around 12,000 hryvnias. But when you talk about what will be the salary for the project manager with the good level of English, it's like 2,000 of people, $2,000. So we have to understand what European it's important to see the European future of every city. It's important to understand English and be capable of writing projects in English. So therefore, we are opening the school in September. The training will last for half a year. And if we want the vivid examples of bright people who will become managers of recovery of Ukraine, so that will be another academic level, and then we will provide training in academic language. But again, we need to lay the foundations, and then we can elaborate on that. That's pretty much on my part. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm sorry for taking so much time. And we continue. I would like to give the floor to Miss Alisa Aleksandrova, who will talk about the process of integrating of urban vision of Mariupol. I would like to be brief, and I will tell the two directions of work. I started working on this project in August 2022, and we understand that we can have the cooperation. So I got pretty much interested and started working with that. Okay, so today I represent not Roskvit, but also 4 teams involved in the project. We had Maria, Big City Lab, Lithuanian Bureau, and right now I see this process in a different way as it was last year. Right now I feel that though what we have presented here 1 year ago, these were our first attempts to understand what does it mean, what is it, the city under occupation, the city that underwent urbicide. So we were trying to find this language which we can start any type of future. Right now, we talk about the strategy that has been developed by the 4 teams, and we have all these moments that have been agreed upon and elaborated on. So of course, we have merging of the teams and creation of one task force that managed to analyze the previous work. Also, we divided these senses of the strategy because each team each team took care of one topic as we talk about integrated vision of development. It's important to mention right now that we have a dream team, yeah, because we feel these values and the principles, and it's good because this is what helped us to make up when we had some arguments. So I try to stress some principles here as well in order to get back to the topic of our discussion. And I would like to start with the fact that we have to renew not only what has been destroyed during military action, but what has been destroyed for these 10 decades. And this can be our weak spot in the nearest future because the south of Ukraine will be really vulnerable to the climate changes, and we have to pay attention to the recovery of the ecosystems of rivers and soil which have been contaminated by the industry. And also the nature has to become the important part for the changing of the image of the city with the human in center. What kind of nature it should be? The nature preserving the ecosystem functions and creating the image of the city using local biotopes. These connections between the urbanized and suburbs, it's important within the context of demining, and it's important to have the artery to this outskirts, which is very beautiful in terms of nature. So Mariupol is industrial city, and not only nature and ecology has been destroyed, but also other aspects. But this can be the potential points for growth, and therefore Mariupol as a city of micro districts, it's not compact city. It means that we can satisfy our needs within the already existing buildings and structures. It's important also to preserve the historical development of the center of the city, and to promote residential development as well, we need to promote the density of population. And also, as for the destruction, this ratio remain the same, but there is another space to have the situation regulated. And also we can promote redistribution of the population and enhancing the density of the close to the sea areas. Some technical moment. Also, we talk about the agile flexibility of the public transport system. We need to have it developed along with the active mobility. All the systems have to be integrated. It's of key importance because we know how important it was to stay mobile if you had bikes. So here we think about the priorities and adding the elements of the human factor, etc. And also when we talk about the design of transport system, but it is not overloaded and you're not forced to use public transport every day. And it's important to come from the such rigid tools to some more flexible ones in order how it is possible to have buildings arranged in a way that they are in the vicinity or in the close neighborhoods. Also, when we talk about competitions for the construction companies, yes, there are different levels of such competitions. Also, the competitors can use innovative tools and also organize the way of the erecting buildings. Also, what was mentioned, it was the subjectivity of the neighborhoods. It is very good if the community of the neighborhoods will be sustainable and flexible. It's very important to create the centers for cooperations. Also, this can be schools or other centers because there are lots of educational facilities around the city. It's like a network, and I think it can be of benefit not only for parents and kids, but for the whole community. It's important to have the whole cultural infrastructure, and not only cultural, but it should have not only one function. It can consolidate society, to create these connections. It can be the collider for the culture. And within the public centers, they have to be inclusive. They have to incorporate the needs from different layers of life, people from different layers of life, as well as the cultural rehab, etc. And of course, we have to talk about the multi-economy, about jobs. People need to know where they will be able to work and what they have to do. So that's important to have the diversified economy so that Mariupol will become more stable for the global market changes. And moreover, it's important to take advantage of this um, positioning of Mariupol location within the global ecosystem. Mariupol has very important strategic location when it comes to the west-east location and within the region. The key point, which will be my last, is that we consider this strategy not only as the road to some finished result. No, we don't see the final vision of Mariupol. This will be the process where every next step matters so that the city can become comfortable right now and in this scale which it is right now in. The city has to have this space in order to be adapted for the future changes, something that we cannot predict right now. And so right now you see 4 different cities in different scales, but this can be our steps for the development or stages for the development. So that's the vision of 4 different cities near the sea with the ocean of opportunities. That's all on my part. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Alisa. And now I invite to take the floor Aleksandr Marchenko, the Deputy Head of the Bakhmut Military Administration. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. It's very big honor for me to represent Bakhmut territorial community. The whole story started 1 year ago. Here we had the presentation of the 4 vision of Mariupol while visiting Urban Forum. Then we went back home, very much inspired. We were ready to make this step and we started implementing our efforts. February 2023, we started the next day understand what we need to do when we come back to the city. We left Bakhmut in February 2023. So we had a lot of training, a lot of forums attended, and whenever we represent our community, we show some small video. I really want you to have a look at it. During such presentations, during such events as we have today, while looking at these videos, I really hope that this can be continued by the third part, by the reconstruction of the city. We have already developed the first steps. We have already presented them on the international exhibition. Next slide, please. So what do we need to do when we come back to our native town? We have to get ready for that right now. First of all, we have to demine the territory. It's more than 400 square kilometers. The area is contaminated and mined. It's very important to have it demined. We have to do it slowly but surely. We have, according to our estimates, 20 million of tons of the construction waste. We have to revive all the supply chains. We have to reconstruct water supply, heating supply, electricity supply. Everything has been destroyed. We have to make it possible for the critical infrastructure object so then they can regain their operation. It's important to understand what is the situation with potable water, with fields, with forests. Everything has been contaminated. We also have to rebuild the residential buildings. We started preparing, and our critical infrastructure manager has been doing immense jobs. We have the social workers working, and we often receive questions. Do we need to do it right now while being at war? Starting planning. Right now we have several projects within the community. Of course, the central part of this town, the historical one, has to be preserved and has to be reconstructed in the way it used to be before the full-scale invasion. This is the part of the city that we have to give to our children. Part of the town and the region which needs reconstruction, we have specialists working on how to reconstruct that. So we can set the roadmap for every micro-district to be reconstructed. We have to offer the visualization to our citizens so that they can see how their native district can be renewed. A lot of architects, a lot of representatives from local self-governance have been working on that. Over the year, we have met architects from the Metinvest and others who had already experience with the recovery projects, that was the Mariupol project, etc. Also, there were experts who had experience in such reconstructing projects. And we started working. We started to pick what micro-district will be the first to be reconstructed, and we chose the micro-district which was destroyed almost to the ground, the micro-region which was mostly the density was the highest, the density of population. We really want to go the way Mariupol goes, and so that's how we did. We had the dialogue with the citizens. We wanted to hear their feedback. Do they like our project or not? There will be the presentation on the 6th of July in Odessa, and we will finish the round of the discussions. We will understand what we have to reconstruct and what we don't have to reconstruct. What was unexpected for us, what was unexpected for our team, was the question that was asked during every single meeting. What type of heating we will have in our residential building? A person who asks such a question means that this person is already living inside of this building on the demined territories. And these are, so we can ask such people, and people ask such questions, they are aged 60 more. But those who are young today, they say it's not up to date to think to think about this project. I think I will stop here. We will pay more attention. We will give more flesh to this project. And of course, we try to understand and to take lessons from the mistakes we have. Also, we asking for the feedback. So I hope that the final stage of the project will be in the nearest future. Thank you, Mr. Aleksandr. And we have our final presentation before our coffee break. Ms. Tetiana Skrypka, she is the coordinator of the Steel Dream project. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for this possibility to present the Steel Dream project and also to tell you how this universal concept can help to rebuild our cities. I'm the representative of the Metinvest company, and at the beginning of the full-scale invasion, as many people said today, when this project were launched, the idea was incepted in March 2022, when we didn't want to think about future. Back then, we thought that we don't have any future, but this project helped our team in mental way and also helped all the others. What is the project? That's the universal concept. It's the tool who will help to the damaged communities and for those who will to be rebuilt. So that is the tool which can be used to reconstruct the living residential neighborhoods. For our team, we settled certain principles, and when we start elaborating new concept, we try to understand whether this coincides with our previous principles. Do we have any violations or not? And of course, we try to have the anthropocentrism. We have to have this human in center. That's important for people to have sustainable development, transparency, ecology, inclusiveness, prefab, and others. So these are the components that provide this quality of the reconstruction. So everything has been united in the Build Back Better principle, so we try not to violate this. The whole concept has been based on the three main steel skeleton frameworks. We have module, platform, and module. So basically, this principle of rebuilding, it is fast, it's of good quality, and when they ask those who use this construction, they say if you don't build from the metal, it means that you are not in trend, because that's that's environmentally friendly procedure. You have nice top quality components, that's good. So we have projected 13 types of buildings which will be implemented fast. They have some peculiarities. Each building has some peculiarities aiming at promoting this building. For example, this is one floor building. It has several platforms which can be added in order to broaden the area of their house. So it means that we can start with 70 meters of the living area, and then it can be enhanced in future. Taking into account the inclusiveness, we really wanted to design it in the way that there will be no obstacles for the people, for the disabled people, people on the wheelchair. When we talk about the two, we also have 2-floor buildings, 6-floor buildings, dorms. So the dorm project, that's the project from the Metinvest Polytechnics. We managed this project before the full-fledged invasion in Mariupol, so we really hope that we will finish this project when we get back. And the 8-floor building as well. So 8-floor, that will be the cap for these residential buildings. Schools. When it comes to schools, we were trying to understand how we can use different territories. It's an innovative approach. School can be used in around the clock, etc. Kindergarten. Modular construction, which will be very fast. Ambulatory care unit also can be constructed very fast. There are even residential blocks inside. There is a great request in the deoccupied territories because they need their doctors back. Of course, sport complex, hotels, we need to promote the tourist area. These are our parkings, and also great attention we paid to the underground shelters. So they also have modular platform, and not only this, you can use elevators, so they are inclusive oriented, and they are not under the building. No, they are elsewhere because we know what will be the construction when the building can collapse. So all these units, all these buildings can make districts, micro districts. So this is the first neighborhood, the first quarter. There will be 10,000 people. Really, we faced this area to the sea. It has cascades. We proacted that, designed that so that there can be the central park and the parts for people to have walk, etc. Another neighborhood, that's the Still Dream Bakhmut. That is what Aleksandr said. We have here 87 hectares, so you see that we are scaling up, and also the whole territory has been rethought. We need to implement the concept for people to live, to have education, hotels, fairs, etc. So all of these neighborhoods have the underground parkings, etc. And also we are having the public dialogue right now. We try to follow the examples because we need to attract people, we need to involve them. We follow the participation approach. We have public discussions, then we organize task force, and we see how people are joining because they feel that they are entitled and it's their duty to participate in this development. Also, right now we are designing 2 more neighbors in Sumy region for Trostenets and Hochivska community, and we will present these 2 neighborhoods in autumn. So this is all about universality. When we started, we were afraid of this concept, whether it will be good for different cities and it will be consumed in the right way, but we have right now more than 30 requests from different neighborhoods. So we try right now to implement the joint project together with Bakhmut. There is another neighborhood not far from Kyiv, and we can't voice the name as yet, name of the town, but still we will try. We have concept developed already. We are looking for the donors. There are some international companies that would like to help us. So Still Dream has new communities joining, and that's good because I hope that we will have even more numbers and more implemented projects. So that's my dream. We have to work, of course. We have we will have the sustainability very soon, and we will see our Ukraine flourishing in order for Ukrainians to live here and for the Ukrainians to come back. We have also our vision imprinted here in this book. We have the quarter of Mariupol here, so I really want Mariupol Reborn to have this project from us. Thank you very much. So right now we are having coffee break. It will be 5 minutes break and then we come back. Thank you. So we are starting our panel discussion, and I really welcome to take the floor to the Natalia Yemchenko, to Iryna Matsevko, the Kharkiv School of Architecture. We have Alisa Aleksandrova, the Rosquid, also Tetiana Skrypka, European Steel Dream, and Bohdan Hoyt. So we have managed to have pretty good input when we talk about how the whole process of the preparing of the vision of Mariupol has been prepared. So we understand that a lot of this preparation can be the role model. And this discussion on the community recovery is all about. So I know we will start with Miss Alisa because you were within the process. Could you please share your insights from what was in Mariupol, which can be used during the recovery planning as the principal position for different cities, and what we shouldn't do within this process? Thank you very much for this interesting question. What we can borrow is that it's important to have the cooperation with different SMEs and the research of different trajectory of ideas. Transparency of communication is of importance because right now we have to be team players. You won't do it alone. And it's not enough just to have the powerful municipality. We just have to cooperate with businesses. We can't do without international expertise, with international assistance, but also we can't do without the citizens' support because they also have to be well aware of how they can be involved because they are those who know their city, who knows the needs for the city. And that's very important to understand who you are reconstructing the city for. Moreover, Mariupol is making very important step right now. They cooperate horizontally with other municipality because every municipality has certain neighbors and everyone wants to become the logistical hub, logistical center and tourist center, etc. So yes, there can be some quarrel, but we have to find good terms with. How we can make the destroyed cities more attractive for people to come back? What exactly has to be implemented maybe before and during our road so that people can want to go back? We have to ask people, right? What do they want? Maybe life hacks. Maybe people are dispersed all around. So what can be the approaches? Because the researchers of the project which are used by the architectures. So who are beneficiaries? What are the projects? What information we have to ask them? There are different layers for different cities. This will be different information. But of course, what is important is to convince the citizens that they have this agency to influence the process. They have the knowledge. So this, if they know that, they will be self-interested and they will be active. Apart from this, again, you have to make them informed on every stage of work. That's how we'll build up the trust. The two main needs are attractive safety, affordable accommodation, and jobs, the three pillars. But also the other aspects are important because despite the war, for example, the Zaporizhia citizens, they have the environmental and eco problem as their top priority. And also problems for public centers, the interaction, public interaction, social interaction. People have to see each other in the public space. They have to interact. They have to help each other and the public sector can, civil sector can cover some work which the local authorities cannot do. Ms. Iryna, you are the rector of Kharkiv School of Architecture, have the vision of how it should be. So when we were talking during our inputs, it was made out a point that it's important not to make a big cemetery out of the city. Life has to survive there. Lives have to prevail. Therefore, it's important to have this in mind while reconstructing the cities, both Mariupol or maybe other cities. Thank you for this question. Yes, it's very important. And whenever we are discussing how to provide effective reconstruction and how to involve communities, unfortunately, this is about the question of traumatizing, and it's not top. On the contrary, it's some of the last questions to be discussed. But we have to have this understanding that after the war, there will be very complex period. According to the experience of the previous wars, after the war, there will be another escalation of tension. People will be not contented. People will try to get out of the trauma, etc. So all our projects, commemorable or social, they have to be aimed at preventing such dissatisfaction and tension and conflicts. But it's important to look forward in order to make so that these decisions won't be the cause for conflicts in 10 or 15 years, because this is what happens according to the experiences. When we talk about traumas, so here I will make some referrals to the speeches of the previous panel. Natalia said that it is important to have the process. I listened to her. I really admired the presentation of the mayor because he understands that reconstruction takes a lot of time. You haven't heard me praising you, Mr. Mayor. I'm a teacher, right? So we are working out with my students the previous experience from different countries. I mean, those who were in war conflicts. And as judging from the experience, all the fast decisions that have been made fast, they lead either to escalation of tension within community right away, or they just break out after 10, 15 years. And there is another question. It's about that fast decisions, temporary decisions won't turn into the permanent ones. So I won't mention commemoration here. I would mention living through the trauma. It's very important to understand that all of us we will be in trauma, and this trauma will only exacerbate. So therefore, how it is possible to live through this trauma? What tools do you have at your disposal to go through it and not to suppress it? So while talking about Mariupol, I would be very much cautious. And such things as commemoration, etc., of course, they don't take overnight to be settled. It takes years. It's very important so that after the war, the community can work out these points. We have in mind that communities are not homogeneous. We have people living there. And this will create, after IDPs will go back, this will cause certain tension. We have to understand that we will come out of these meetings and we will have different memory about that. I was kind of perplexed about this commemoration slide with this design of drama theater. So, and also the thesis that citizens decided what they wanted. So I would like to say that I used to work in the projects like this. I used to work with communities. So we together with my students, we analyze different commercial projects because that right now in 21st century, architecture is at top. So first of all, it means that you will be the pioneers, the first in the world, those who have reached absolute consensus in such a tragedy. We can go back to the memoriam of the Vietnam War. We can go back to the latest example of zero ground. Can you understand what was the number of the conflicts, misunderstanding around it? Or this can be the sign of the second thing, and we are going back to the Soviet working out of the problem. So you have the paternalized community, which agrees right away because the SME is saying that SMEs gave you the green light, and maybe totalitarian mayor. You're the first mayor who tried to arrange the chairs. I saw you arranging the chairs. So therefore, I think that we really need to think about it, and we need to work with community right now. But to come back from war with the ready-made project of the commemoration of this site, it's just my personal opinion as an expert in this part. So what can be the result? Tension. Tension will scale up. And this is the referral to those who will come back, to those IDP, to those refugees, and also to those who are not who don't have pro-Ukrainian position. And the second point, and that's the common practice of the commemorative project, there will be other local commemorable places. So that's another challenge for Mariupol, because the trauma of Mariupol is not the trauma of the city itself, it's the trauma of the whole Ukraine. And willing or not, but the state authority also will be interested and they would like to say their word within such project, because Mariupol it will be like a business card for what you do. It will be like landmark site, which will show all your work. So I think it will take more than a year so that a big place for commemoration will be set up. Oh yeah, we are pressed for time, unfortunately, but of course you will have this opportunity to speak about your Bucha experience. But within the broadened context, we witnessed that basically as towns or cities are just ruined to the ground. Do we need to reconstruct such cities that are destroyed to the ground? So, Mr. Bohdan, this is the question to you. You are a person and a member of the National Union of Architects, so it's very important to hear to your opinion and to see a professional insight. What I would like to say is that you need to build always. There is not even a question here, because it is about every type of territory. What I have heard, and right now I recall the case of my relative from US. He migrated during Olympiad in Moscow in 1980s, and what he had in memory, he has this pre-Olympiad Ukrainian. And when he came here, when Ukraine got its independence, I was pretty young architect back then. So, and we were having a walk. He is from Chernivtsi. We are walking around Lviv, around Chernivtsi, and he said one sacramental statement. You have war. Ukraine is at war, but you are not announced. The war is not announced. So he saw our country as the country ruined by war. But we lived in that country and we thought that it was okay to live like that. But today we are experiencing the full-fledged invasion and we know what is the destroyment. People whom I work with who are involved into the Irpin reconstruction, and when it comes to the sites, to the objects that we are working on, they were not destroyed to the ground, but basically they were that old that they haven't been renovated for decades. So basically they had to be renovated back then before the war. So people still live there. Some of them don't even have glasses on their windows, but some wooden plates. They don't have heatings, but they try to heat them somehow with the portable cookers, etc. They don't have where to go. They live there all their lives and they remain there. So when Russian forces withdraw from Kyiv region, it's more than a year, so 3 months. It took us 3 months to make the cost documentation on the financial part of the reconstructions. Therefore, the answer to this is that it's not to us, it's not to architects, not to the local authorities, but it's up to the citizens. And then, if there are people who want to come back to their cities, do they have this dream to live in their native town and cities? And they will pass this law to their children. And let us recall Crimean Tatars who were coming back into 1990s into Crimea. So nobody forced them to be relocated into Crimea. They did that by themselves. And these were not people deported in 1944. No, these were their grandchildren. So they had this dream all these years and they wanted to rebuild their hopes. So I'm sure that we will go back to Bakhmut, to Mariupol, and we will gain back our territories. We will free those occupied territories because that's the part of Ukraine, whatever bite our occupants do. And therefore, that's what our dreams have to be right now. And to conclude, there is a great value not only in the end product, but also what I have witnessed today, and it will be a compliment, is that this was an example and even the training platform. And that is what is of great value. That is what these 2 years were not in vain. Because 1 year ago, people can say, like, why are we talking about reconstruction if the city is being occupied? You have to deoccupy it first, and then you have to start thinking about it. But today, I think that we did the right choice back then. We started this movement. It was a great push for us to reconstruct many eastern regions and southern regions of Ukraine. Of course, there should be some course of action after the occupation. There is a phrase, if you don't know the direction, why you are wondering that you made the wrong turn. What I would like to ask that, yes, everything is in comparison and we feel that situation got worse, right? But still there's a will to reconstruct cities, and it's not just about build back better. We have to build forward because we have to fulfill our requirements by the European Commission, etc. So there is certain approach towards the city's reconstruction, and there is certain landscape and other peculiarities that you have to take into account. But if you don't have these limits by the historical components, so what can be the components towards the modern construction and reconstruction? Yesterday, where there were several elections, so we talk about the anthropocentrism, human in the center, and Miss Iryna said about this. It's the first step. Yes, it's a grand discussion of architects. What is most important, the customer community who dictates, or the architect who knows and architect. My students don't know the answer because the colleague says that community is up to decide. But my students read some fascist, book of architecture because there is no unanimous answer to that. And what I'm driving at is that this is dialogue, and we have to have such a dialogue between community, between experts, between architects. It's pretty easy to work when there is nothing. But when we have this thousands of these limits, property, real estate, etc. So other things that set these rules. But when you are not limited, right, you can take the best from the world. Some people say, some people are wondering that how you are so digitally transformed because Ukraine has this banking app, etc. Abroad, they don't have this. So we started from scratch and we took best from the world, right? So that's how and we made innovative efforts. The same situation is in architecture. Right now we have this possibility to start with something which is the best right now. But there is this complex of guilt from our Western partners because they could help us more at the beginning. And I think it will be good for us in the long run. So yes, we have a community, architect, and also we have local self-governance as an actor. Mr. Dmytro, Bucha, we know that the city was occupied, it was ruined, and you have 1 year of recovery. So what resonates with you and what's your own empirical experience of the reconstruction experience of one of the most suffered community in Kyiv region? Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to be part of such discussions. While I was listening to the other speakers, I have like 20 ideas in mind, and I would like to share that. But I would like to start, first of all, that Mariupol and a mayor, it's like a bus driver, right? He's planning where he's going. He's planning the route. But what is the most important in this bus is that we have to voice it. Guys, we are going to certain direction. So as you said, communication, because when people lack information, it can give fuel to the conflicts and to all this tension. So I think that you, Mariupol Reborn, when you are setting up your offices, right, you keep in touch with your Mariupol citizens and the IDPs, the refugees, so they would like to go back to your Mariupol city. And I'm sure that the work you have been doing, it will be a great foundation to all the other communities who will get into the reconstruction track after the war is finished. So yeah, we need to have the concept, strategy, etc. But these are, whatever the name, these are the steps on how you provide communication so that we can build better tomorrow. And I will start from the end. We have a lot of but here. First of all, people have been traumatized mentally, and this PTSD, etc., the consequences will be later on. Yes, people will go back home, then they will have despair that they have nothing, and then they will have hate, first of all, towards enemy, and then towards the local self-governance. Why? Because local self-governance will be limited in actions, money, processes, etc. And even if you have this will, in any case, you will have to work with the aggressive environment. And I would like to be frank that even those people in Bucha, just mm, they just left. So because of this tension, because of the lack of the funding for salaries, etc. So you just have to understand that that you have to be ready that tomorrow you will be faced with thousands of people who are angry, and you have to make good communication with them. That's my experience. I'm responsible for the reconstruction processes in the community, so I meet such people very often. So we had literally thousands of people, and they continue to come to us, and their questions have been transformed, and we have a kind of discussion here as well. If you're building up a strategy, any type of strategy, it has to be flexible towards different circumstances. I reiterate that because when you are pretty concrete, when you say, I know where I'm going, let's go into direction, people will tell you when you will come, when we will hit our destination. And when you tell them when, they will ask you, why do we come here? And when you tell them, they will ask you, like, why are we here? Why did it took us so long to get here? So these are the questions, how they evolve, questions that I'm asked. We start the first priority of our international the first priority that was set between our international partners. We said that we have to reconstruct civil infrastructure, social services, etc. We need to have a hospital operating, schools. We need to, if people will feel okay, they can even live in tents. Yeah, but they really would like to see your eyes, right? What will be the hope of you as a mayor, as a top official? What will be the hope that you provide to them? And very often we face different risks when we make plans according to the funds that we have at our disposal, right? We plan the dynamics, and the state makes a decision. So sometimes we can make promises to people, and then state decides to take back this financial assistance, and this means that people show up and say, you are a liar. So I'm trying to explain all these sophisticated processes between local authorities and civil councils and national level authorities. And I would like to explain them the details of this process, but they can't because it's a rocket science for them. So, and I cannot influence it as well. So it looks like I'm a liar. So I can, dwell upon this for a long time. People are reluctant, people are angry, and Mariupol right now, I'm very happy to be a speaker here, but it's good that Mariupol hears me, because all these steps, concrete steps and points and strategies, they have to be flexible, and people have to be warned in advance that there are certain force majeure circumstances, something which mayor cannot take care of. There are other dynamic elements within regulatory frameworks. So I told them that community capacities is very important. Team, mechanism, strategy, steps, the first one. The second one, financing. The third, that's the regulatory legislative regulation. So if we, can influence on the first, we can have strategy, we can understand the functional works, etc. We can elaborate that in the long and medium term perspective, but there are still some things that we cannot influence, is like financing. Also, it depends on time. Maybe we cannot influence right now, but we will be able to do it in future. So if we talk about some typical projects, even they have to be flexible and to be adaptive, because land can have different status, communications can be installed in a different way. So we started to We have the railroad street that was the one that had heavy battle. So we had a decision to build up new buildings, and some of the houses would be rebuilt. Because what was the first decision? It was to um, take everything to the ground and then build up from new. But people showed up and say, we don't want this, we want this, this, and this. So, and you understand, when we receive this feedback from the citizens, some people say, like, even if somebody says it will be constructed for free, some people are happy that it will be done. Some other people say, I don't want this, so it's not for me. In 2 days, these people come back and say, my mother in Germany said that. So people have some individual vision of how their houses should look like, and they try to dictate this to us. So people have different experience of occupation, of deoccupation. Their mental condition is different. So that's very complex communication with the citizens. So, but after we convinced them, we started building up the houses. And when we talk, we have 5 typical buildings constructed, and then it's all with the typical buildings. So then we started to be flexible, because there are lots of work that we had to take into account. We had the strategic vision, but how it worked in practice is absolutely different story. So right now, when we rebuilt railroad street, it means that every day when I have meeting with citizens, half of the citizens of this street show up and tell us about different issues. So you cannot help them right away, because each of them have different conditions, different locations, different interrelation. Because you see that sometimes even the people next door can be your worst enemy. So they want to have the borders, because no fences, etc. So we started with the fences, so they can understand where is their own area. So it's very complex work. It's hard to anticipate. It's hard to plan. And I'm talking just about one project. It's about private detached houses. But challenges are different when we talk about the multi-stories buildings, like Irpin, for example, etc. So I hope that Bucha will be the first community which be reconstructed to 100%. I will not go into details as for what we managed to implement, but I would like to say that communication that you are doing right now is priceless. But we have to look ahead and to be prepared for what awaits you in the future. Because the things that you're mentioning right now, yes, they are topical right now. But again, circumstances can be changed. Donors can come and leave. They can have different documentations, etc. And then you say, okay, we are ready to be flexible, etc. So community, flexibility in different processes. Yes, we can reiterate, we can make our community be ready. So we can describe that there can be different circumstances for them. So you see, our country, for over a year, there were no some major actions. And then certain programs started to be implemented. They have incorporated some basic things, but they are ineffective. So they have the program e-recovery. Yes, we worked on that, and we also see the deficiencies in this program. And our government thought that the e-recovery program, that's again engagement of the citizens to the recovery process, because when some owner so people are trying to wait for some people to come and to rebuild them house, because if this person sees that, for example, their neighbor's house is being repaired, this person thinks that his house is going to be repaired as well, and they just wait for someone to come to them and help. And one more case. I was saying this to Mayor and to the whole team, that you don't have to have all at once back, because that will be very big problem. They have to be accommodated, they have to be engaged. And if you understand that the key employer is not working, it means that these people would like to be realized somewhere. You have to provide this as well. I didn't interrupt you. I understand that you have a lot of expertise, insights, etc. Within this dialogue, I think there is the fourth participant who is like top of importance, because this participant gives jobs. This is a taxpayer. So I would like to turn to Natalia Yemchenko, who is the supervisory board member. So you were present from the very beginning. You are one of the interested parties of the dialogue into the future recovery. And you were trying to elaborate and design the vision, and we have the hope, because whenever there is no hope, people don't want to come back. So we see this ambitious vision, which gives this hope. So what did business do, and what can be useful for the local self-governance, or maybe other attraction of other businesses on the community recovery process? So when we talk about the principal approach, having such a background as you have, what would you say as? So that communication is not a problem. We have to cherish it, and we don't have to just to suffer. Of course, I understand that sometimes people feel uncomfortable to communicate, but if architect knows everything, it means it's a bad architect. If I, as a communication officer, know answers to all the questions, it means that I'm a bad communication officer. So I'm always saying to my colleagues that there is certain area of responsibility, something this one circle, and there are certain other circles of those who have certain questions. So sometimes what you love, people will not understand what you're trying to make a point, but you have to manage this skill. It's a skill, it's a magic. You know everything about yourself, and you have the understanding about the audience. So you try to work on these points of contact, because the audience understands themselves. There are you. So it's a synergy, right? There are many roles in business. In different towns where we are present, we have changed our role for the couple of years. So yes, we pay taxes, etc. I had one idea once to re-register Shakhtar in Mariupol. if mayor promises to use finances into sport infrastructure. We had different visions. It was painful, but dynamic. That was pretty dynamic. So we had some millions of hryvnias of additional taxes that are allocated to sport. But in businesses, apart from the taxes, if it is a good business and if business wants to be relocated, but they can have some requirements, it means that businesses don't have this feeling that they just spending their monies in vain, etc. But business, some branches, I'm just some sidetracker from the discussion, but in 20th century, people left churches and people said that they didn't have people answered that they were living because they didn't have any influence. So people just wanted to make a difference, right? So business wants so that they can have this voice, and business wants to have this voice. And then we can have this city development fund. Yes, we spend on corporate social responsibility. We want to have this machine to be transparent. Yes. We want to see the money coming from donors, from us, from other funds. So we want to invest into capacities of a team. We want to invest into these stages of strategy, concept, working documentation, etc. So we can appeal to those who can give you money with working documentation. So donors do this. Our international actors have a lot of money. They talk all the time, where is your bankable project? They want to have these bankable projects. The third part of is economy. We have to understand the mono city story with one big enterprise operating. And when we talk about the city where there are many types of industry, it's another story. So it is good when there is anchor. I really like industry. I think that there is no life without industry. So I'm not objective. I'm not very much into this fancy cities, etc. I'm more like about the Bucha, about Mariupol city. So yes, I was grown up in Donetsk. I really like these big cities, etc. But business has different energies. Business does a lot of different things. So it means that business promotes great people and teach great people. So if we think about this within ecosystem, it means that we did a lot of MBA, different trainings. We were looking for young people and involved them. But we as business, we supported the development projects of the municipal authority, so looking for the talents, the labor market, that's important. And another role of business has the understanding of what we are doing. For example, if we are industrial business, we have no clue in cultural part. So whenever we are asked to do something on the cultural part, we just don't do it. But we are well aware in education, for example. Therefore, if local authorities understands that, it means that people from local authorities come to us on certain within our area of focus. Also, we can make partnerships within educational area. We have schools, etc. Also, we have sport partners. It's a part of our philosophy and culture because we have football club. Also, we have an infrastructural project as well. But for example, we are not very much interested in hospitals. Yes, if we need to help, but when you talk, yes, we can deal with hospitals, but when it comes about partnership, no. And few more remarks. Yes, as for me, right, I'm half of Jewish origin, and there was a situation when they didn't have their country, I mean Jewish people. So they have certain meetings, they had meetings in Jerusalem. So they say, here is the city, here are we and the city will meet. So that's the tradition by Jews. So what I am saying is that the tradition in our communities will be about coming back or not. So it depends of whether we will fulfill this tradition or not. And the second part, when you're talking about what do we need so that people can come back, it is necessary to see the energy and then to push forward into these places where you feel this energy. So try to call back those who are active. So two approaches, you can either address problems and to just try to pick up activity-based approach. I would like you to give additional comment because you have an experience and investments into the capacity segment, so we can create this. So what was like? We have budget, for example. Is it possible to attract and relocate business? So this is the key task for to be the headhunters, right? Can you please dwell upon this? How local self-governments have to look for businesses? Look, so there are many businesses who don't have kind of place of registration. Yes, they are registered somewhere, but it doesn't mean that this is that this has some pragmatic sense. And therefore we just have to go to them and say, how much do you pay? How many taxes do you pay? And he says some number. And then you ask him, like, what are you interested in? And then we ask him, let we help you, we can make you relocate here and you'll be interested in your art, etc. That's how it works. It's not idea. So what we do was Vadym Sergeyevich, when we were discussing the second dormer in Dnipro, I said, like, let's make French cultural center. We turned to French people and they're asking, like, where are you planning to have your dorms? I said, so business can have this vision, right? Why we have this idea, so we have to go and ask for money. We have to we just have to offer opportunity and then you will have this money. So the fundraising principle is like offering donors to become a part of successful story, and it can be for donors, it can be for businesses, or for those reintegrated citizens. They have to understand where are you and what I have to do there. Thank you for this insight. And then I would like to give an example from Bucha community. When our mayor, who is 26 years old, mayor says that you citizens, you have to be integrated into the interests of the town. So he has a rule so that citizens have to be registered in the town. I mean, those who want to be a part of the successful story. Yes, if you want to help us, if you want to be integrated into our community, so please register here. So, and when this business registers in the town, this business understands their responsibility before the community, before the mayor, etc. Business can say, I want my taxes to go into this or this direction. That's the healthy relationship. Yes, entrepreneurship say, I want. And the city says, if you want, let's make a healthy communication. Let's start with this, with registration. Sometimes a city asks, what does the donor wants? Because an investor says what he wants, not vice versa, because city is interested so that investor can keeps into the city. Because if you say we want, it doesn't go. We have the territory of parity development, we have industrial parts, clusters, etc. And we have Kyiv. Kyiv will be next to Bucha, not Bucha next to Kyiv. Yes, that's what happens. That's off the record. We are our agenda and schedule. We are over the schedule, so just try to be brief. Maybe ask for the guidelines for people who are already within the process of recovery or those who want to deal with that after the deoccupation. What we have to pay attention to make this process to be more productive, non-conflict, and how we can do it fast, even though we understand that we cannot do it fast. How we can do it ASAP. Okay. My feedback on what I have heard, what resonated with me. First of all, thank you for the investments into strategy and capacity buildings, because we really lack data. We don't have aerial information about the cities. We don't know how to ground our decisions. And therefore, we have these conflicts between architects and investors. We cannot show them, look, this is the data showing that we have to do this way. And what is the problem of building back better? We can't just reconstruct, even though we make the quality better, but we will fail with the quantity. And that's really important indicator, and we will lose a lot of resources in the future. Why we are talking about our populations all the time? Yes. It's not just about war, it's about the process which was happening over several years. It means that the total population of town will scale down, and we don't talk about this right now. So when we say that we will rebuild the building in the same scale, it doesn't mean it will make sense in future. Maybe we don't need in such scale this building. So when we ask, do we have to or not reconstruct this? So we have to be followed by the tendencies. Sometimes it is not beneficial. And also sometimes you see the calling inside of you saying that there will be people who would like to go back to their native land, to their garden. So that's how we have to deal with these conflicts, and how do we live along, because we have to find some points in the middle, because reconstruction is very, very complex process where we try to tackle something unreal, because people who were dealing with the reconstruction on Warsaw, but they have the population back, and they just decided that they want to build back their city. There are centers of Warsaw which some parts of Warsaw that has been reconstructed. Warsaw people, they just don't like these centers, the reconstructed centers. These neighborhoods, it was like a place for the elderly tourism. That's because it was, the bad example of the reconstruction. So I would like to bring 2 points to the table. One point that unfortunately nobody speaks about this, and it is not supported by the business. Business wants to have results right away, 1 year maximum, 1-2 years maximum, but that's very, very important point. It's the educational component. We have education is understaffed right now. This is what the Mr. Mayor says. There is no background experience in strategizing, into managing, into implementing communication. And therefore, education, I mean the quality of education. So we can't have a lot of quality education. That's the secret. It's not about our country. But it is very important moment to invest into education. And I think that's another line which you can take along, because we have a lot of graduates from Mariupol. They are school leavers right now, and this can be your potential professional audience, because the recovery will last not 1 or 2 or 20 years. So this is the first part, and the second one, this is the bravery to accept unpopular decisions, because only unpopular decisions, long term, in a long term perspective, they can be effective. All the other previous reconstruction, they failed, especially when we talk about the Balkan countries, the total failure. So that's the fast decision making. And that's the big challenge, because people will go back to their civil life. And as you said, people would like to have all and everything, and people would like to have what they want. And this strength of will to make unpopular decisions, to have good communication of how it will be handled in the future, that's a very, very big thing. Yes, we were saying some good and bad points, like you have to make unpopular decisions, but you still have to do it even though people will argue, etc. We don't know how the situation will evolve, but we have to be brave, and we have to work. We have to be sure that this responsibility, people will be not grateful. Whatever you do, people will say you do it in a bad way. But if you don't do it, situation will become even worse. So it's still, you have to do it and regret, but not to do and regret. And the last point, we have to understand that whatever the situation is, if there are people, there will be movement, and we need to look for the active ones, for the young ones, those who have this energy, who want and build, reconstruct our country for them, because and then those elderly will also step forward. It's not about ageism, it's about mental ages. Sometimes people are old even though being young, and vice versa. I'm talking about eternal youth. So yes, we have to look for the active people. That's some obvious recipes for the success. First of all, not all business don't like education. We admire education. That's the main channel for talent hunting. But we have to understand what is the education. We will now go into the musical education. So the still dream, yes, it's Metinvest, and we are trying to think that we have to work with architects in another way. That's what's our food for thought. I am a representative from business, communication specialist, so I would like to say that I've been working all my life when we receive a lot of strikes, because in Ukraine, people don't like business, especially big business. But if you like the communication, it's a skill. You can develop the skill, but some people have this inborn ability. So we need to have such communication specialist in the team. So if mayor is not a good communicationist, he should have such people on board. Of course, because of the challenges, it's impossible to handle all the challenges by individually. It is possible by having the like coalitions of like-minded people. Just make pilot. You have to learn that you have to try. Of course, it's impossible not to make mistakes. So I'm asking everything like, we are going to do, I use the term piloting. So we're going to have a pilot. So if we fail, it means that it was a pilot. And if it was successful, I say that we are scaling up after this into another stage. And last point. Today we have a fantastic possibility. And as I said, that when we talk about memory, preserving memory, we cannot make fast decisions. But when we talk about traumas, war traumas, trauma-related issues, I would like to say that Americans have 16 million veterans of war. So Americans say that from all those who have suffered from trauma from war, 20% of people, so they just can't make it from this trauma, but 80% they recover from trauma, and they do a lot of activities. So right now they have the whole institute who is interested in those people, in those 80% of people who survived the trauma, who recovered from trauma. Everything is pretty understandable. What they say, what is their starting point? The first one is that the life after trauma will never be as it used to be. So if you want to go back to your life before the war, it's a mistake. And you have to talk this over. You just have to say, like, at the door, right? Do you understand that you will never have the life as it was before your trauma? And a person has to say that he or she understands that. And the second point, if something bad happened to you, it doesn't mean that something good won't happen to you. So you have to allow yourself to move on, to live the life to the full, not in the mornings. So if you have these two moments, so it means the communications and connections, that's everything. It's a linkage between everything. We can do everything if we build relations. And the higher networks of your relations, the higher chances you have. Your input, please. Okay, I'm going to continue what my colleague said. There was a great focus to Bucha in terms of reconstruction as we try to become pioneer in this sector. We try to build new factories, kitchen, etc., schools, etc. We try to attract the donor funds and their visions. As I said, that there will be a new medical facilities will be opened. It will come here from America, and we will try to construct it. That's the cool project case, and we have already presented this, and we made the preliminary steps, but it takes a lot of work. And if somebody asks me, why are you doing this? We are still at war. But for us, it's a great impetus and the motivation that we create with our action. And here, the families who are in the rear and our defenders in the front, all of us have to understand why do we do that. So we need to have this parity of the of our priorities of the reconstruction. Of course, the first who deserves to have their house reconstructed, these are soldiers. Yes, not those who are refugees in Germany, but the soldiers. We have to help them first. So we need to have this priority so that people don't have any other additional questions. But one soldier is aware that his family will have their house reconstructed, and even in case if in case of his death, yes, we will pay attention to his family. He has to understand that his family will be protected. It's important to do these steps from the authority, because apart from different physical things, we do a lot of mental inputs, and we try to do it right now while you're alive, and we will help your family in any case, whether you are alive or not. So that's what really backs up. And plus reconstruction, revival, the epoch when people. That's also an example for other communities. So when we see what happens in Bucha, we try to be the role model, and of how without any plans you can do quick steps and show fast results. As I told in my previous speech, there are a lot of nuances, and we try to struggle. Even though, yes, we have to get ready for the reconstruction, even when some places are under occupation. But what I mentioned is the key capacity of the community, and that's the bravery of a mayor, because mayor, that's the great example who energizes himself or herself and the team, and then the whole team with the joint efforts try to create this fist, the power, and implement what is necessary. I asked myself, we have 11 or 12 communities in Bucha region, but all of them are distracted, and we have two communities, Irpin and Bucha communities. We are more active. We have this energy, we have bravery, we are result oriented. So we have to act fast, and the bravery of our team, of our mayor, we just want to find fast decisions. If we talk about design or projects, so the more projects you develop, the more opportunity you will have to receive money to reconstruct your community. So it's not for the mayor to sit and wait. No, mayor has to find the source of financing. He or she has to believe in themselves, and they have to be ready that they will be able to convince the project organization so that they are able to do that. They have to communicate with the representatives from the government, and everything works. It works indeed on our example. So bravery of the mayor, a great team, understanding of the strategy and planning. So this is the foundation of the fast recovery. And when other people just have a look at this, yes, there can be some conflict, but again, it's a stimulus for them, again, to start moving, to start communicating. So we can be the role model on the regional level, like, look, Bucha region did that. Can you ask them, reach out to them, and then understand how it goes on? There is no magic around that. There is only the will to have the result. Thank you very much. I also would like to provide my reflection. I just want to, be more creative here. But what I recall the description of one from top managers. He said that he had a problem when he was asked during job interview, what would you do if you see a kid falling on the crossroads roads. You just have to hug this person. Empathy is about love. When you want to have good relations with the people, and then when you understand what is your interaction, because you will have this mutual empathy and mutual communication. And where you have these right relations between local self-governance, between community, between business, between professional community, where people just don't want to take everything for themselves but try to find the decision by joint efforts, so there will be progress. So that's the open participatory process which was organized by Mariupol. That is what inspires. We had the school of mayors. There was Vadym and colleagues. I was saying that Vadym Boichenko was, and his team was one of the top, among the top of those who have the right orientation, right managers, so then there will be results. And that was about the education of the staff. And it's good that the process is ongoing. And right now, Mariupol inspires other cities and teachers of the right directions, right approaches, because this is one of the few cities which have this right development, and I hope that it will be like with the dandelion, when the seed spreads all around Ukraine, the seeds from Mariupol. And it's really necessary for us to have this new culture of interrelations with the human in the center and with all the interested parties. This is our strength. It is our resilience. This is the qualitative peer forward recovery. And I hope that we will be stronger than we used to be before this war. Thank you very much to our participants. Just there is one remark. These are presents from the mayor of Mariupol to our moderators and for the speakers of our discussions. Thank you very much.